Hello, and thank you for tuning in to Potpourri. I'm your host, Brittany Miller. Joining us today is the man responsible for all these beautiful pieces you see behind me, Mr. Neal Hamilton. Hello, Mr. Hamilton.
Hey, well, how are you, Brittany? How are you today on this lovely Friday in Atlanta?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
Very good.
Thank you so much for taking the time out to join us today.
You're so welcome.
So, when did you first realize your love for painting and artwork?
Well, believe it or not, I was probably 3 when I went up to my grandmother, because she tells the story. She's not with us now, but she told me the story. She said, you came up to me one day and asked me to draw a picture of a dinosaur, stuff that us little boys love. And she did her best to draw a picture of a dinosaur. And I said, no, Grandma, no, Grandma. So I took it away from her and drew a dinosaur. And she said, okay, this little kid drew this dinosaur far better than I did at 3. Yes. And then from there, they knew as I progressed, by the age of about 9 or 10, they enrolled me in the Cleveland Museum of Art for art classes on the weekend.
Okay. So you later went on to create your own enterprise, Livewire Studios.
Yeah, Livewire Studios was actually a commercial art firm we put together in Cleveland, Ohio. I mean, we had all worked at other various jobs, you know, in our early career, but that was one where we finally stepped out on faith and said, let's start our own company. So I pulled together some of the top, top artists that worked around me and some of the other commercial firms, and we said, let's just go do our own thing now. And that's how it started.
Tell us about some of the successes of Livewire.
Yeah, Livewire, like I said, we had a very unique co-ed. I think we were one of the first companies to actually have a co-ed type of arrangement where we had different artists that were very good at specific things, and we all housed it under one roof. So it was like the first time it was done that way. And our successes were we broke into, like I said, some of our big clients became Goodyear Tire Company, American Greetings, the card company. I mean, there was some big clients we got right away. So we just fell right into it at the right time, and we just did it.
Okay, so you've also worked with the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Yeah,
after we closed Livewire, we stayed in business about 5 years, and then one of my partners had to go to Disney, and other people went other way. We said, okay, 5 years was enough. We had a good long time, hard time. But then the Rock Hall called me. I had some friends there to say, we're about to open up the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and would you like to bid on the job as photographer? Now, I had worked as an NFL photographer in the 80s before that, so I knew how to work a camera very well too. But they said, okay, bid on the job. I'm like, okay. I thought there were other people more, fitting for that job. But I said, okay, I'll bid on it. So I put in a price of what I wanted to get paid, and the next day I got called and they said, well, congratulations, you're going to be our photographer now. Yes. So I had a 10-year stint of total fantasy of photographing all the greatest music stars and celebrities there are in the world. I mean, because when the Rock Hall first opened, it's like a new nightclub. Everybody comes there when it's brand new, so it was very exciting. And actually, my very first assignment there officially was actually O.J. Simpson's trial lawyer.
Wow.
Yes.
So you later,
Johnny Cochran, yes.
You later went on to start Paint Out Loud. Tell us about that company. So
what really happened after my 10-year stint, it was time to step down. I've done pretty much everything I wanted to do there as a photographer. And then we had the unfortunate act of a house fire that actually burned our home down. Nobody got hurt, got the family, everybody got out okay. But the loss of all things, okay? And lucky my parents had passed away, and I kept their house out in the country. I'm glad I kept it, because then we moved there. And as I paced around waiting for insurance companies to do what they do, how are we going to rebuild a burnt up house, right? When you lose everything, you don't know what to think anymore. So I'm a little rattled. And I said, you know what, I haven't painted anything in 10 years. I actually put down my artwork for 10 years to be, to do the Rock Hall thing. And I said, I found a blank canvas, and I found some orange and red and black house paint laying around, just stuff that's laying around in most people's garages and basements. And I didn't have the brushes, I didn't have the typical tools that you paint with. But I'm a trained illustrator, so I know I can do something with nothing. So then this is the body of work I created in that bad time in my life.
So you actually do not sell these pieces that are on stage with us?
This is part of like my personal collection. I actually do shows with, a tour with, I mean, I get commissioned all the time to do stuff that people specifically want. But I mean, I'm sure if somebody really is persistent who wants, like say Janelle Monáe wants that piece real bad, then I'm sure we'll work it out.
Okay, so as well as painting portraits, you also paint instruments. So tell us about the MNN Guitar Project and how it came about.
Well, what happened when I first moved here about almost 5 years ago, and I don't normally get on Craigslist and look at things, but one day I was just on Craigslist. I said, let me just see what's going on in Atlanta. And this guy said, I'm looking for a rock and roll artist. I'm like, oh, sounds interesting. So I looked more at it. And he needed an artist to paint. His name was Dan Haar, and to paint celebrities on guitars. I'm like, okay, that's right up my alley. Let me call this guy. So right away we talked. He came, we met, we talked. I said, I like your idea. And the whole thing was built on charity. Because what had happened to Dan, he was a veteran, and he had gotten cancer. So there's a music organization out there called Music Cares, and they take care of musical people if they're having hard times. So they helped take care of him and pay his bills for a while, and then he wanted to give back. So this was his way of giving back to other organizations. So when he saw what I did and how it got applied to a guitar, it's almost like the old Reese cup commercial, the peanut butter and chocolate. It was the perfect mix. So once I painted the first guitar for him, and it was actually Robert Plant from Led Zeppelin. So we would pick out these people that actually, the real people would hand autograph these guitars after I was done to raise huge amounts of charitable money. And then the artist would actually pick what charity it would go to. So we would go to like Children's Hospital, Music Cares, Wounded Warriors. I mean, all the top charities, in America that we help.
So Neal, if someone wants to buy your artwork, what's the average price?
The average price, I start, if I'm feeling good that day, it can start from $2,000 up to beyond $20,000, $30,000 on the size and the scope of the piece and the project, And
what advice can you give to those artists who are looking to become as successful as you are in this field?
I would say it's perseverance. First of all, you got to know where it's coming from. Don't let your ego get in the way. It's coming from a much more powerful place of light. And you just never give up. Once you have that desire, I think that we all come here with. Everybody has their own journey. Don't let the naysayers and the negativity and all the stuff, and just cloud your vision. Just keep rolling, keep believing in what you do. Have a thirst for what you want to do and just go for it. Your heart doesn't lie to you, So long as you can just block out, like I said, all the negativity, everything just falls into place.
So these are musical artists that you have painted behind us. Is there anyone that you are just yearning to put on a canvas?
I've almost done most of the people I've admired, and the era I grew up in that era of the late 60s and the 70s when music was huge, so I've lived that dream life, and working at the Rock Hall, I got to meet a lot of these people in real life. So I got to work with them in real life. Like for instance, I have great memories. I was on stage photographing Alicia Keys when nobody knew who she was, and it was a pivotal moment in her career, and right after that big performance she did at the Rock Hall, she blew up big right after that. So I have a lot of those memories.
Where can people go to view your artwork and learn more about you? I
think the quickest way is my website, of course. That would be www.nealhamilton.com, and also to the www.mnnguitarproject.com. Those two sites will point you in the right direction to how you can kind of get more information on me and kind of the things we've done and where we're going.
So you have such an interesting story. What is next for Neal Hamilton?
The next part is, like I said, this is finally taking root. It's like planting seeds. When you plant those seeds, once again, not getting discouraged. It takes time. Nothing happens overnight that's worth happening. So once you give time, and these things now, it's been 10 years since I started Paint Out Loud. This is 10 years old this year now. And now the seeds are actually starting to grow. These pieces have now been seen all over the world. So when I pull out a business card, people kind of identify right away. When they see my card, they say, I've seen your work. So now, and I had this argument a lot of time, or discussion with other artists about social media, for instance, and people taking pictures standing next to your painting. A lot of artists don't like that. I said, no, let it happen. Because the people who are taking pictures of your work, they're putting it out there. It starts to travel beyond anything you can imagine. So wherever I go, people say, oh, I know your work. So they're kind of helping me, okay? So it's like a give and take situation.
Free promotion.
Thank you. You cannot pay for that kind of promotion. I say, you're crazy. I'll let them keep going.
How does it feel when you introduce yourself to someone, or you give them your card and they say, I've seen your work. I know who you are.
It happens all the time, you know. I mean, even if I'm out at a restaurant, it's probably how I get a free meal sometimes. You know, no, really, because they identify right away. Most people, 9 out of 10 times, somebody says, "I've seen your work." Just like what happened here. I walked through the hall, right away somebody stopped me here to say, "I know your work." And that tells me I'm doing something right. Once again, I try to tell artists also too, what's important is to, in our world, to identify with a specific style. I mean, I can paint in all styles and techniques, but what am I going to get recognized for? That's why I painted out, I created Paint Out Loud in these vibrant colors. That's why we call it that. Because you don't forget this when you see it.
I will not.
I mean, if I did an oil painting, it'll be nice, but people say, okay, there's a lot of great oil painters out there. Okay, yours now blends in with so many others, but Paint Out Loud sticks out, and that's why I made it this unique, to be instantly identifiable.
Okay, well, thank you so much for joining us today, Neal. I've enjoyed hearing your story and seeing your wonderful pieces.
Thank you so much, Brittany. My pleasure.
Stay tuned. We'll be back with more Potpourri right after this.
And from this angle, it all makes a star.
I'm a teacher. Let me tell you what I make. I make learning a privilege, not a chore.
Show up
And frustration, a tool, not an obstacle. I make working hard seem easy, and giving up impossible.
And then we're going to turn the lights and everybody look up.
I make an old subject feel like a fresh thought.
What's your reaction? Yeah, exactly.
And unconventional methods
Okay, what else?
common.
This is their world.
Nothing.
And then they die. Go ahead, go.
I'm a teacher. I make more.
I'm only 17, but I know about investing. Believe in something, buy shares in it, watch it grow. So, what if you could invest in the future? The future of kids, like a stock. Not the kind of stock that's about making money, but a stock for social change. A whole new kind of investment called Better Futures. When you invest, it helps kids go to college. I could be one of the first college graduates from my family, the first philanthropist from my neighborhood. And if I'm the first, then maybe there's a second and a third. Believe in us, invest in us, watch us grow. My name is Sydney, and I'm your dividend.
Welcome back to Potpourri. Joining me now is spoken word Jeff DeVerb.
Yeah. Hey, Brittany, how you doing?
I'm wonderful. How are you, Jeff?
I'm cool and keeping it cool, locomotive.
So what sparked your interest in becoming a spoken word artist?
Man, I had this friend. So I went to Morehouse, right? So I went to Morehouse for 3 years. And freshman year, we do this thing where the freshman dorm of Morehouse and the freshman dorm of Spelman, the like qualities, they like attract and they exchange brother and sister, right? We have a whole ceremony and everything. And my sister I met through there, her name was Taylor Petway. Right, and Taylor, she was a writer. She used to write short stories at home and like write poetry all the time. She used to go to open mics and introduce it to it, and she'll sit there, soak up everything that's happening in the moment, write a poem, perform it, and folks will go nuts. Right, so I was like, how did you do that?
Right.
How did you do that? I was a person who blogged myself. I just like to blog just to get thoughts out. I have a very active mind, so I have to use words to expound and just like release, kind of a release. So I used to blog and just like give my opinion out, but never did I have a chance to really give poetry and an artful form of creative writing the chance that I got until I was able to go in exile for a little bit and just let my mind breathe. So Taylor showed me a few things, and like over the time. I see her do her spoken word and her poetry, and through the inspiration, I tried it once, shared it with somebody, real good response. So I kept doing it, and it became like a slight hustle, which was good for the situation. It came in like a slight hustle, and it allowed me to like really grow, free my mind, have a freedom, keep my peace, and find freedoms in other ways when people were trying to, I guess, keep me in a box, so to speak. So through Taylor Petway, I found poetry, and then through writing poetry. Later, I found spoken word, and when I found spoken word, I felt like I found God.
Can you tell us what's the difference between poetry and spoken word?
So spoken word actually predates poetry.
Really?
Right. If you know, the whole Bible's written in poems, you know what I'm saying? But spoken word, before we were able to write, we only spoke. You know what I'm saying? We had to figure that out verbally first, linguistically. Is that the right word? Linguistically first. And once we did that, we spoke creatively already. But once we were able to write it down, then you had poetry. So spoken word came about through the last poets, right? The last poets were the art form of spoken word. The last poets, they put poetry on beat. I forget the exact year. They put poetry on beat, and that's how you have hip hop and rap starting. Rhythm and poetry.
Okay.
Rhythm and poetry. You know what I'm saying? When they put the words behind the beats, and they had this whole phenomenon all over the world of what's going on with this. I read this really powerful book about a pianist who used hip hop as his inspiration to keep going. And he said he felt like the art form of putting words to music was incredible. And those folks who did that, he felt like was like a level up for one who was a musician, because you have to take into account two things at once. So I feel like spoken word and spoken word artists are the second hardest artistry to master, in the sense of you have no music, you have only you have words. With those words, you have to act, you have to project, so you need to be in shape. Beyond that, you need to connect with the people. So you need to not only be performing, but you need to be detecting. You need to make sure there's always an intimacy of the moment. There's a lot of things that have to happen for full transference of an energy to come about in a performance. Think about it, Brittany. The whole act of comprehension, a conversation, right? Expression meets comprehension. That clashing moment, what is that? I'll tell you one thing, it's intangible. I'll tell you one thing, we overlook it a lot. I'll tell you another thing, we don't value it how we should. That's divine, Brittany. For me to transfer all these images, a whole movie reel in my head to you, and you get it and you can expound upon it to someone else.
Just through your words.
Through words, through you understanding and appreciating, because it was a quality performance, and then sharing it with somebody, that's a continued conversation. Tupac said what? I may not change the world, but I guarantee you, I might spark the mind who will change the world. That's all it is.
Are you trying to spark the mind that will change the world?
I feel like that's overused, and no, I'm trying to change the world.
Oh.
I feel like everybody says that and wait away from the responsibility of actually doing something. No, so I have a game plan, and I'll tell you something. This may be a little risky for the camera, but I'm trying to get more comfortable every moment with dying in the next 10 minutes. I want to know that at every moment, I gave my complete effort as far as my life resources and my current positioning in life, my current life resources and my current position in life. I gave my complete effort towards giving my full contribution to the impression that I want to leave on earth. Then I'm comfortable with knowing that I can leave at any second, because we were here to do something. You know what I'm saying? We have a soul that we're supposed to pay attention to and follow. That's on the spirit team. And each soul is an incarnation of the spirit team. And when we play on the right side and we go for the score and go for the win and do what we're supposed to do, then everybody wins on the team, and we're doing the goodness for the God we serve. It's all tied together, but it's all in perception. You know, perception's reality, right? Kind of, sort of, maybe.
Yeah. So to digress a little bit,
all right.
You also have an entertainment solutions company.
Yes.
Tell us all about that.
Bruh. So Verbato Entertainment Solution, and actually I'm putting on this spoken word festival October 22nd through 25th called Verbosity, a festival of words, where we'll be really releasing and showcasing the company, what we're about to do. We're about to do a lot of things. But Verbato Entertainment Solution is an entertainment solution company that specializes in impact, specializes in impact in the areas of giving outlets, so expression, in the areas of empowerment, and in the area of education, so Triple E. We entertain through our spoken word, comedy, rap. We have we have artists that work with us to create great events. And we also have workshops that we do to youth, ages 8 to 18, giving them outlets, whether you like writing, videography, acting, dancing, editing, whatever is your passion or whatever you want to try. Just try it, because you never know what you're good at till you find it, you know what I'm saying? Everybody find out late in life because they don't have many opportunities to try. You know what I'm saying? So we're going to give kids more opportunities to try, and there's no wrong answer. The only wrong thing that you can do is quit going deeper to your line of thought because you doubted yourself. That's the wrongest thing you can do, and that will get you a bad grade.
So for those who may be interested in taking part in the Poetry Festival,
yes,
how can they do that?
They can email verbato@gmail.com. So verbato@gmail.com, and I'll give them more information. I want to communicate directly because I want to be built mostly word of mouth. So taking more of a guerrilla warfare approach to it.
I see. What exactly does verbato mean?
Verbato is this sauce. Atlanta is known for having a charismatic consciousness, right? So it's a knowing. Verbato is a culture. So I have a text group that, and people can join my text group by texting at JEFFDEVERB at JEFFDEVERB to 81010 and become part of the tribe of Verbato. And in that text group, you'll get discounted tickets, you'll get unreleased material, and as well you'll get, you know, a couple special side parties and things I got going on. Welcome to the tribe. It's a culture. It's a culture where we're very religious. Religions, in a sense, where we've Christianed our higher self and found God in being selfless. So everybody who's agreed with that and can commit to being the tribe of Verbato, means that you're making commitment to be the best you possible so we can have the best society possible. And learning to cope with that as people, looking over our differences and being able to cherish the best person in another person.
So is the tribe, is that the impression that you would like to leave with the world?
The impression that I would want to leave with the world is that within you is a seed that is watered by your attention. And if you give it the sunshine of your willingness, you will grow multiple trees of life. So be a forest.
That's beautiful. You don't...
Bars, freestyling, I don't know.
So what's next for spoken word Jeff DeVerb?
Oh man, this Sunday. So I host all-inclusive open mic every last Sunday. Got rappers, singers, spoken word artists, bands. Actually, the band that's featuring just won a national artist competition sponsored by Monster Energy, and because of that, going on a tour sponsored by Sony Music Group. They winning, right? So before they make all that happen, they're gonna do a big feature for me this Sunday from 6:30 to 11 at the Lyric Room at Our Lounge in East Atlanta Village. We're there from 6:30 to 11. It's all-inclusive open mic. Everybody can come out. It's backed by V103 and Lyrical Jones Entertainment Group. And also, speaking of Lyrical Jones Entertainment Group, one great thing that I have going on right now, I'm really happy about. So I just got lead role in this play backed by Lyrical Jones, written and everything by Lyrical Jones Entertainment Group, and helped with V103 called The Hunted. And we actually have auditions tomorrow at 2 p.m. called Hunted. And what it'll do, it'll give the story of both sides of police brutality. Okay. Not only the full extent of what leads to that moment of what happened, you know what I'm saying, but also the full extent of the situation that those officers are in. And not only like their situation life-wise, but how they might have been programmed growing up. And let's look at that. The majority of officers come from what? And around what? And grew up in what type of background? And the history of the organization of the police department started as what? So let's put all that in the context. So we're gonna get real deep with it. It's gonna be beautiful, and I'm happy. We're gonna be rapping, singing, acting, spitting spoken words. It's gonna be dynamic, man. Dance, of course, because I love to dance. Of course, well, it's gonna be great.
That sounds like a great project, and congratulations.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Jeff DeVerb. But before you go, you have a piece to share with us.
Oh, of course. Can I share Mr. Super Love, the Clarity Cyclone?
You absolutely can.
Okay, say no more.
Okay, so stay tuned for more Potpourri and spoken word Jeff DeVerb's performance of Mr. Super Love, the Clarity Cyclops.
You used to make existence feel like a prison. 'Cause I only knew existence through my 5 senses, and I swear they were just keeping me away from you. And that the only true perception I kept was this within a cage type of view. But what was barring me was my inability to define your value. It's like my 5 senses were these iron, stubborn blockages that were just easy to grasp onto. But see, I'm learning to reach for things that I can't physically put a hand onto. And the irony in that lesson is that I'm trying to touch the untouchable, which once sounded impossible until I placed a finger on what you've brought into my view. And I gasped out of shock, and I noticed the smell reminiscent of this fume, of this candle that's lit inside of you that keeps your love burning on through. And I feel that warmth, but I can't grab the candle, so I overcompensate and act like I'm Zeus, because I just want to be enough of whatever to protect that candle that's lit inside of you. So if that means being bigger than I can imagine, then I just got some big shoes to fill. For real, I'll throw hands with God to show you there's not much for you I won't do for you for real. If my love was an action figure, it will be 7'2", made of steel. Favorite color will be blue because it used to be a Navy SEAL, but its superpower will be being able to tell you exactly how I feel. They say everybody has a love language. Well, for the longest, mine has seemed concealed. So Mr. Super Love, better give my love language a voice so you can hear what it sounds like. I would want you to hear my love language's accent and think it sounds like the love of your life. Peep my love language's cadence and hear its heart beating in a sound bite. Don't just appreciate the sound of my love, but value the words that it finds. Because at every moment, it will speak on my whats, but it'll bring up my whys. In fact, we can call Mr. Super Love the incredible love of whys, the only superhero with the power to bring more clarity into our love lives. I would want him to take his time when he speaks and be careful not to surprise you. Because not only should love be patient, but it should be kind too. He will speak with a lower pitched tone to avoid sounding too prideful, even though he will want to scream at the top of his lungs about how I feel about you. He will tell you how I feel about your strength, support, and willingness to push through the unknown and unaccounted for, when most times that's a source of fear, but you use it as a sword to cut and peel open the future that God wants to reveal and I want to restore. He'll tell you that life has a scoreboard that can't even reflect your worth, because there's at least 9 number slots on them, but none of them are continuous enough. And how I long for the day when I will have the chance to speak up and tell you're like the last piece of my puzzle, and that the only person to ever love you as much as I do was your mother. In you, I see your mother. This halo hovers above you. When you speak, prelegates, release, and let out a flood too. Baby, you are a flood. Baby, you are my flood. Baby, you alone are enough. You are my earth, water, and sun. And sometimes I feel like my love languages sound like Captain Planet. Baby, you're my axle. We're going to my destination faster now that you supported my steering habits. You keep me going.
I hope you enjoyed Spoken Word, DeVerb. And be sure to visit nealhamilton.com for more artwork. I'm your host, Brittany Miller, and you've been watching Potpourri.